Hey guys, Nubkeks here bringing you some really awesome news for Heroes of the Storm today. They've just announced at Gamescom the Machines of War update for Heroes of the Storm. It's going to be adding a bunch of Starcraft 2 themed content, including 2 new maps, 2 new heroes, well, one's not Starcraft, we'll get to that soon, and a couple of new things such as awards at the end of the game, a bunch of new skins, and so on and so forth. What I'm going to be doing in this video is going through that stuff, giving you my analysis of what my kind of impressions are for the maps, the heroes, and the skins and so on, and yeah, just kind of giving my reactions as well. I will say, if you want to watch these, they are all on the Heroes of the Storm YouTube channel, the in development videos for the heroes, the maps, and just the general in development video. So you can go check those out if you want the sort of first impressions thing, and then come back to this video for more of a discussion and get involved in the comments here then afterwards. But I presume you've seen them already, so I'll tell you what, let's dive into them and let's see what we can make of these. Okay, well, first up we have the 2 new Starcraft themed maps. The first one is Brachus Whole. This looks really cool. This is the one I'm personally most excited about. It is a 2-lane map, which involves capturing these beacons. It looks like there's going to be one on the north lane and one on the south lane. And as you hold these beacons, they'll fill up these Zerg forces, which I presume after a certain time has elapsed or after a certain amount of forces have been built up, will be released, and then we'll start pushing down the lanes. One of the questions I have for this map in particular is whether the Zerg forces, it looks like on each of the lanes you've got a blue team holding pen and a red team holding pen. I'm really curious to see if those Zerg forces will fight each other or if they'll ignore each other and go straight for the fortifications. And also, it's worth mentioning that they said that these forces will in fact attack heroes as well. So definitely something to watch out for. As a 2-lane map, I think there's a few things we can probably predict basing it on the previous 2-lane maps we've had, that is Haunted Mines and Battlefield of Eternity. Typically these maps can be shorter than other maps, which is awesome, though they can also snowball quite hard, and more than likely Sylvanas will probably be one of the absolute best heroes on this map, disabling structures and making your Zerg swarms that much more powerful, and also bringing nice wave clear to clear out the enemy Zerg swarm. I see a lot of potential cool strategies on this map, especially seeing as you have to split your attention between both of the lanes. I think that's really awesome, and it's going to be really interesting as well to see whether kind of powerful team fighting heroes are going to be prioritized to try to secure those holding points and build up your forces, or whether teams will invest a bit more into defensive things or wave clear, which you might not normally see as much on 2-lane maps, where you typically have had in the past, on Battlefield of Eternity for example, a very powerful pushing objective, which kind of negates a little bit the importance of having some powerful push yourself. On this map, having that good wave clear and lane presence might actually be a lot more important, so that's interesting to see. It's also worth noting that there is a boss in the center of this map, which is definitely a little bit different as well, and it's also quite close to those 2 holding points, so it could be definitely, I predict this will be a throw pit. This is going to be a throw pit boss, but it could be quite powerful too. Interesting to see which of the lanes it's going to go down or how it's going to work. Very excited to see more information on this map coming out in the next couple of days as people get their hands on it in Gamescom, but I think it looks awesome. The second map we have is Warhead Junction. This is a 3-lane map, and quite interesting. It focuses around the idea of collecting these nukes, which will spawn kind of at random around the map. It seems to me kind of a bit reminiscent of Cursed Hollows. But you pick up this nuke and that gives you a new ability, adding an additional ability to your hero where you can call down a nuke, much like the ghosts in Starcraft 2 or the original Starcraft could do. And one of the interesting twists here is that, much like Blackheart's Bay, if you die, you then transfer your objective to the enemy, or the enemy has the opportunity to pick it up. So I think that opens up a lot of interesting strategies on this map. It could definitely be a case where you could have some stalemate, so I'm a little bit cautious about this, where you do get those objectives, get those nukes, but you're just too afraid to actually push up and to use them. One thing that will add a really nice twist to this map is the fact that there are 2 bosses in the map. One which is just a little bit north of the very bottom lane, and then one at the very, very top of the map. Potentially these could be throw pit bosses as well, but it's going to add definitely a Cursed Hollows dynamic as well, where the bosses are extremely important, and you can definitely use these to force fights, or even to push in. You know, if you're worried about pushing down the lanes yourself, you can go and fight at the boss, and that forces the enemy team to come and contest that boss. And if you got some nukes, then you can maybe win the team fight using the nukes and then secure the boss and push in, or whatever you want to do. I think that's pretty interesting. The nukes, by the way, they've said that they do percentage health damage to heroes, which is kind of cool, and will obviously devastate structures as well. Another cool little feature here, comparing it to Cursed Hollows again, is that unlike Cursed Hollows, where the bosses are kind of placed towards each team's side, in this case, the two bosses are right in the middle of the map, so definitely open to being contested by either team. The bottom one looks much more doable with more retreat options and routes than the top one. We'll be curious to see I'm curious to see how this is going to play out when we actually get to play it as well. One thing I thought was funny too was that in the trailer they showed Murky actually using the nuke. I'm not sure about that. You know, Murky seems quite easy to kill. He seems like an opportune target to not put the nuke on, because more than likely he'll feed it to the enemy team instead. I don't know. I'll be curious to see what happens. I expect on this map as well that global heroes will be very powerful, seeing as it looks like quite a large map. The heroes like Falstad will obviously shine, bringing kind of global presence, getting around anywhere. You know, if your enemy decides to try to do a bit of a sneak attack to fire off some nukes, he can get there and respond. He's got the gust to try secure some of those boss camps, and he's got really nice wave clear as well. So I expect heroes kind of like that to be really, really strong on this particular map. Going alongside this, and I found this on the website, but not in any of the in development videos, unless I missed it again. I could have gone through this fairly quickly, just so excited and want to get this out to you. But there will be an in-game event going out alongside the release of this sort of Starcraft series here, called the XelNaga Artifact Hunt. And it says that XelNaga artifacts have begun to appear all across the Nexus, and SCVs are being deployed to collect them. Terminate the interlopers with extreme prejudice and collect artifact pieces. To participate, log into the game and play. Get a daily quest to collect artifacts. Cool. At the start of a match, artifact pieces and SCVs may appear, so I'm curious as to whether they'll be in every match or only some of them. Collect pieces to restore the artifact, but watch out for SCVs trying to interfere. So it sounds pretty cool. I'm curious to see whether this takes place during the actual match, or if it's just kind of like the Elder Monkey event, where it's something that just happens before the gates of the base open and the game proper begins. I presume it's probably going to happen before the game begins, otherwise it could be kind of disruptive to the actual gameplay, and maybe your ranked games can get rude or something. But I think it sounds pretty cool, it sounds pretty interesting, and I'm glad to see that there's an event. It's something fun to do when you log on every day, and hopefully there'll be nice rewards like bonus gold and portraits and stuff like that to earn there as well. Alright, well next up, let's take a look at these two new heroes. So first we have Alarak. I'm sure a lot of people are really, really excited and happy about this. I know he was one of the most wanted and requested heroes from the Starcraft universe, still remaining to come into the game. It's also cool that he's a Protoss, but as a Tal'Darim Protoss, he looks very different from the Protoss we already have in the game, like Artanis and Tassadar and Zeratul. He definitely stands out as being a very different sort of flavor, and quite an evil sort of air to him as well, though he's kind of, I don't know, he's one of those guys who's kind of good, he's kind of evil in the lore, I guess. But yeah, I think it's a cool little addition here. He is a melee assassin, which is really cool to see. Definitely excited to have more melee assassins added into the game. I think most of us were coming from a leak, we're expecting Samuro to be the next one added, who would have been a Warcraft 3 Orc Blade Master, kind of this melee assassin with stealth and probably critical hits and blade storms and things like that. But I think no one will complain to see that Alarak is going to be the melee assassin that's coming out next. Instead, quick look at his abilities here. His Q is called Discord Strike. It seems to be a very small little short little skill shot that does a silence effect, which is going to be pretty impactful, and potentially you could hit a couple of heroes with that looks somewhat difficult. His W is called Telekinesis, which appears to be some sort of displacement or pull ability. I'm curious to see whether you can use that to knock heroes away or just pull them towards you. Potentially you could push them in a number of directions, it looks like, judging from the in development video. We'll have to see when we actually get some gameplay, but definitely some cool plays that can be made with that, pushing people into stuns. This is like the mosh pit, what happens in the game, or pulling them towards you, kind of like Kerrigan does. Pretty cool. Then his E ability is called Lightning Surge, and it's basically Force Lightning, beat the Emperor from Star Wars, but with red lightning. It seems to be a narrow skill shot that shoots out and does damage. Pretty straightforward, pretty cool, giving you some ranged pressure as well. I don't have any info on his passive yet, his traits, I should say, so I'm not sure exactly what that's going to do or how it's going to integrate with his kit, but he does have his two heroics already. One is called Deadly Charge, which launches you forwards. Looks like it probably does quite a bit of damage as well, and it could definitely be a way to feed if you're not being careful. And it's going to be very intriguing to see exactly how this works out. You definitely see some cool stuff like charging through the enemy team, doing some damage, knocking them backwards with your W, silencing a healer maybe at the back, It could be kind of cool. Very interesting to see exactly how he plays out. His other heroic is called Counter-Strike, which provides, it looks like, a more defensive option. He appears to sort of charge up his arm blades and absorb any incoming damage for about a second and then launch it back in a sort of, again, narrow but long looking skill shot. Just reflecting that damage back. I imagine it does more and more damage the more you soak up, and I don't know if it makes you immune to damage or just absorb some of it, but it looks very cool as well, definitely punishing enemies for going too aggressive on you. So two very different playstyles, either kind of potentially diving through the backline or staying with your team and reflecting damage that comes towards you. So kind of cool to see that. It also has to be said that Alarak has probably the coolest master skin in the entire game. Holy shit, give this to me now, please. It looks so good. Apart from that though, he looks cool. Relatively standard melee assassin type stuff going on with him, it seems like. Should be pretty solid, I hope. And be interesting to see just how difficult he is to balance. Oh dear, could be the first overpowered hero we've seen in a while. Next up we have Zarya, actually coming from the Overwatch universe, not the Starcraft universe. I have to be honest, I was a little bit disappointed here actually that they didn't come up with a second Starcraft hero. I suppose Zarya is an okay replacement. The warrior I would have preferred to see coming from the Overwatch universe myself would have been D.Va, and that would have fit even better than Zarya would, because D.Va is, in the story, a professional StarCraft 2 player. That would have fit in pretty well with the StarCraft 2 event, right? Unfortunately, we got Zarya, and I don't know, I feel a bit bad because, you know, that sort of disappointment for me takes it a little bit away from her, but she does seem very cool. She is a ranged warrior, so that's awesome. And unlike Rexxar, who's the only other ranged warrior, with Rexxar, you know, you got Misha, who's the more tankier part of the Rexxar combo, and she is melee. So although he is a ranged warrior, Rexxar isn't a full ranged warrior, let's put it that way, whereas Zarya is going to be, though I assume her range will be, you know, effective range will probably be fairly short at the same time. Still though, that's kind of an interesting twist. They've also said that her abilities are going to be essentially ported across from Overwatch, relatively unchanged. Her Q is going to be called Particle Grenade, where she can launch a relatively slow moving projectile that will explode for some AoE damage, letting her do a bit of AoE, bit of splash damage. Her W is called Personal Barrier, which will, I presume, if it functions like Overwatch, make her totally immune from damage for a short time, kind of like a personal force of will ability that she's going to have. Again, that needs to be confirmed though through gameplay. Likewise, her E is called Shield Ally, which applies a barrier just like that personal barrier, but onto one of your allies. It appears from the trailer that it's got a very short range for applying this, but this will clearly be a very powerful ability. Now the trailer doesn't mention her trait, but I presume it will be the same as her trait from Overwatch, which is as she absorbs damage with either her shield ally or personal shield abilities, they will empower her damage with her particle grenade and with her basic attack as well. So that's going to add a cool aspect of gameplay. You know, if you defend yourself and your allies well, then your damage is going to be more impactful. So that's a pretty cool type of warrior gameplay that you're going to have in there, mixing in that offense and defense, much like Oriel does as well. Really nice and very slick design is how I would describe it. Her first heroic, coming straight from Overwatch, is called Graviton Surge. Unlike Tracer, and I thought I was a little bit disappointed by this. I was hoping with the Overwatch heroes they make it a theme that you'd get your heroic at level 1 and then you could upgrade it in a number of ways at level 10. I suspect with Zarya it was too powerful, so they had to make it just an option of the 2 at level 10. It would have been too difficult to balance if she just got it at level 1. Anyway, the first one is called Graviton Surge. Just like in Overwatch, this is a small enough AoE actually, but it will suck enemy heroes into it in the middle. It's not clear if they're stunned. I presume they're probably not, but rather just kind of sucked into the middle and held in place, being somewhat vulnerable to just being destroyed by AoE damage. If they are stunned, it's going to be incredibly powerful. It looks like it's going to be probably the most useful one in general. Her other option is called Expulsion Zone. Again, it will be the same sort of size AoE, but instead of sucking enemies into the middle and possibly disabling them, it will instead push them away. It's kind of like Tyrael's Holy Ground on steroids. Obviously, I expect the Graviton Surge is going to be more useful, just initially. But it'd be interesting to see exactly what sort of plays people can come up with Expulsion Zone, potentially zoning out some melee heroes or taking some objectives. but I kind of feel like my initial impressions would be that Graviton Surge appears much more powerful, just setting people up for a big wombo combo. It's a tried and true method, very powerful. And it'd be kind of fun to build another big wombo combo team again, adding Zarya into the mix this time around. Next up, there's a bunch of new skins. Not going to go too much into them here because there's not really any legitimate gameplay that comes from skins, let's put it that way, but they certainly look pretty cool. Legendary skin for Kerrigan looks quite nice with a mount, a sort of speeder bike to go alongside it. Pretty cool. Rexxar gets a pretty nifty looking skin. You get some space boars as well from one of his heroics, though they lean more towards the boar side of it than space, which is a bit sad by, but oh well. The Butcherlisk has to take the cake though for, well, I'm not sure. Master Alarak and the Butcherlisk are going up against each other for like the coolest skin I've ever seen. This looks so good. And oh my god, the Lamb to the Slaughter with like the Zerg tentacle holding you. Oh, that's so cool. So cool. These are also going to be released in a bundle. Again, I found this on the website. There's going to be a Machines of War bundle, which is going to include Alarak and his skin, which is some sort of tentacly thing. Don't know what it's called. Kerrigan and the Queen of Ghosts Kerrigan skin, the Butcher and the Butcherless skin, and Rexxar and the Terran Rexxar skin. What's it called? That Rexxar skin, Raider Rexxar skin as well. And it will also include that speeder bike I was talking about, and the Ghost Speeder, and also an Obsidian Cyberwolf, which is probably much like the Cyberwolves already in the game. Herald of Nazath Alarak skin, that's what it's called. Huh. Pretty cool, pretty cool. Based on the old gods from World of Warcraft, I presume. Alright, now unfortunately I do have some bad news for you guys. I'm just recording this part now after everything that's come before, because I just found a little bit of new information. Again, all this information is sort of gradually coming out. I'm kind of live reporting this in a way. But the release date for the Machines of War bundle, and therefore I presume probably the first map, maybe both the maps, probably just the first one, and Alarak as well, isn't until September 13th. So we've got about 4 weeks to wait until we see some of this content actually come into the game. The normal schedule would have been to have seen it in about 2 weeks time, so having to wait 4 weeks definitely sucks. It's definitely a big bummer. I suppose a bit of a good news on top of that is that if you do buy that Machines of War bundle on September 13th, you get kind of early access to all of the skins, whereas otherwise there's going to be bundles kind of released over the course of September and October, which will include the other stuff. Zarya, by the way, good news here actually is that she will be released on September 27th, so that's 2 weeks after Alarak. So although we're going to have to wait about 4 weeks until Alarak comes out, there's only going to be 2 weeks between himself and Zarya, so that's kind of nice. That sort of makes up for it, I suppose. By the way, September 13th as well will be the release of Season 2 of the Rank season. Honestly, I was kind of expecting that they'd release this stuff a little bit earlier so that we kind of have time to get used to it before diving into Rank Season 2. Not a huge fan of it. I would really be super happy if they came and said, oh guys, only, we listened to your feedback and it's going to be out a week earlier or whatever. I don't really expect that to happen though, but it would be nice if it did, but oh well. But yeah, September 13th, you're going to have the Machine of War bundle, so the bundle with all the skins and everything included. And as well, get if you want just the Alarak, you can buy him just by himself, or there'll also be a bundle for Alarak with himself and his skin. Then on September 20th, there'll be the Kerrigan skin and bundle. September 27th will be the Rexxar skin and bundle and the Zarya skin and bundle, and then the Butcherlisk. The coolest one probably will have to wait until October 4th for that. And by the way, I think the Obsidian Cyberwolf is only going to be available in the big bundle, but that's okay because it's not the cooler mount in my opinion. The Ghost Speeder, which is probably the go-to mount, I think you can probably pick that up in the Kerrigan bundle, which would be September 20th. But obviously you can get earlier access to it if you buy the full big bundle, which would probably be very expensive, but kind of cool. Oh, one final thing I need to mention that was in the little preview video they did was that there's going to be awards coming at the end of matches now. They mentioned, for example, that you get an MVP award, and they also mentioned that there would be 4 others, so they didn't say what they would be. Could be pretty cool. Definitely another little aspect of gameplay. Going to be interesting to see just how valuable they are, but certainly for the most part that should add just a nice little bonus, something that you can get even if you lose the game or if you play really well, an extra sort of recognition. Curious to see especially if these are awarded just by the system itself, some sort of algorithm going, or if they're actually voted upon. yeah, I'm curious to see exactly what they're going to go with that. But it's definitely a cool sort of first step to adding more sort of rewards and maybe even adding more social stuff to the game. So that's pretty cool. Happy to see that. So there you go, guys. That is all the details on the new content coming that's come out so far. Again, do tune in to all the Gamescom stuff. I'm not going to cover it myself here on the channel. I think this one video is enough, but there'll obviously be lots of people covering it, you know, streamers who are there live at the event, bringing you actual gameplay and commentary live. Lots of details. Obviously, you can find it on the Heroes of the Storm subreddit or the official forums or the Battle.net news page, whatever you have. When it does come out on the live servers, or hopefully the PTR before that, I'm sure there will be a PTR before that, like a week or two before, which is good news. I will obviously dive into that and bring you the first impressions on the day of release. And then as we get closer and we get a bit more time played in all these heroes, and there's probably going to be a bunch of reworks and stuff to other heroes and big balance changes too coming in around that time. So it's going to be a big deal, sort of end of this month and the start, well, probably the start of September. It's going to be pretty crazy for Heroes of the Storm, but I'll be covering all of that stuff in detail, bringing you all the sort of guides and tactics and strategies and everything. So do subscribe and stay tuned for all of that stuff. And let me know if you like this video. Give it a like if you liked it, and get involved in the discussion down below in the comments, letting me know what you think about this stuff. And also more than welcome to receive feedback on this video if you like me doing some sort of news style videos and things like that. Obviously, it's not very often we get a massive update like this with new battlegrounds and events and skins and heroes. So I think I might do one as well, probably for BlizzCon, maybe. I don't know. Let me know if you'd like to see that or how we could improve it and stuff like that. But there you go, guys. That is the video. I think it's pretty cool. I'm happy about it. Disappointed that we're going to have to wait until September 13th. But hopefully we get a week or two of PTR to kind of tide us over during this sort of 5-week drought that's going to occur between the release of Oriel a week ago and then the proper release of this. Hopefully there's a PTR. I want to play it now. I want to play it right now. I wish it could be a Gamescom. Unfortunately it can't be. Oh well, there you go. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you all next time for more Here's the Storm. Bye bye.